If you had been the consultant who did this party tonight, you would have made, and it was the exact dollar amount that I would have made at 40%. And if you did one of these parties every single week, every month you would have this. So it multiplied that number by 4. That letter is the reason I signed up. Because I was a numbers girl, and we were broke. And when I saw that she made more than $800 in 3 hours from my friends, I was pissed. I was like, are you kidding me? Right? Like, I was just, all I could think was sex toys. I can't, oh my God, I mean, what am I going to tell people that I do? What am I going to tell my priest? Like, I couldn't get past it until I realized just how horribly broke we were. Like, we were about 60 days away from foreclosure on our house broke, right? So in that 90-day stretch between when I went to my first party and when this happened, it truly, life changed. It's all about timing, right? So I always say, a no is simply a no right now. Don't take it personally. It's not about you. That's one of the biggest mistakes people make in recruiting is they make it about them. It has nothing to do with you and everything to do with whether it's right for them. Then I signed up, okay? But I was that pain in the ass girl. God, I've always been a pain in the ass. God bless my sponsors. Who said, this is great, I'm in, I can do a party, I'll rock it out. I don't want a team. That sounds like a lot of work. Nope, I can't do it. Ultimately, when I am honest with myself, the reason that I didn't want to recruit was entirely my ego. I was afraid of looking stupid. I was afraid that if I didn't know how to run my business and do it perfect, I couldn't possibly teach anyone else to do it. So until I really knew what I was doing, I wasn't gonna risk embarrassment, and I was just gonna go ahead and do it for myself, right? So I jumped in, doing parties, had a baby, took 3 weeks off, jumped right back in. So about 3 weeks after I went back to parties, I did a great party for a bunch of moms close to my area that are still great clients, but there was a new woman there that I'd never met before. And she walked into my shopping room and she was like, this was incredibly fun. Like, I want to do this. And I looked at her, I was like, you want to do what? I had no idea what she was talking about. She was like, what you do? I want to be you. And I was like, I have absolutely no idea how to do that. Because I had not read a single email that my sponsor had sent about recruiting. I literally didn't open any of them. If I noticed the subject line said anything about team building, recruiting, sponsoring, I didn't even open it. Fortunately, I was smart enough to put it in a folder and save it. But I called my sponsor and I was like, I have somebody that wants to sign up. What do I do? And that was before we had personal websites. So it was still three-layer applications. Like, it was a disaster. But she signed up. And once that happened, and I'm like, okay, so I'm just going to tell her exactly how I started. I realized you don't have to have a bloody idea what you're doing. The company has so much training. There's so many resources. My sponsor ultimately is the one who jumped in and made sure that she had everything that she needed. So I literally wasted 5 months, which was a drag because I did some killer parties with great girls. Now, fast forward a couple of months, okay? So I signed this girl, she starts doing parties, she's taken off, and then I signed 3 more the next month, which is fun, right? I get my second promotion at the time, and then I go to a training like this, a corporate training. And one of the trainers stands up here, and she's normally a, cutesy tootsy bubbly girl, but she very seriously looks around the crowd and says, for those of you who are not offering this opportunity to every woman, who are picking and choosing who you will ask to join your team, shame on you. You are so selfish to think that you deserve it and they don't. And I was aghast. So I was like, I am not selfish, right? But ultimately, I was being horribly selfish because again, it was ego that was stopping me. I was afraid of being told no. I was afraid of dealing with people like me initially, right? So that was when, almost 8 months in at this point, that I was like, okay, we gotta figure this out. I gotta actually come up with a system. And so I've been playing with this system ever since then. But I went to people who are great sponsors, who are natural recruiters, because there are natural recruiters, they are few and far between, but they exist. And then there are people like me who are learned recruiters. We learn the system. When we follow the system, it works. When we stop doing the system, it doesn't, right? So I'm gonna teach you the learned system so that anybody can do this. And if you happen to be a natural recruiter, oh my gosh, brace yourself, because you're gonna explode. Okay, so the very first thing that we need to be working on is our opening speech. And this is one of the very few things in your party that you really can't wing, y'all. Like, you have to do a structured opening speech. And there are a couple of pieces to it that make sure that it's comfortable for you. Honestly, I would suggest to you, again, that you use cue cards. You're probably only going to have to use them for like 5 to 7, maybe 10, depending on the spacing between your parties. But the faster you do those parties back to back, the more it will flow, and you'll realize you don't even need those cards anymore. But I want you to use those cards so that you don't forget any elements of your opening speech. So the first thing that you're going to talk about with the recruiting portion of your opening speech, and of course, your opening speech doesn't just include the recruiting portion, it's thanking the hostess, explaining how the party's going to work, just generally telling them structurally what to expect, right? Then you're going to say, I know you guys are probably curious how you end up in this industry, so I want to tell you a little bit about me. That's your I story. Your I story should probably be less than 2 minutes, and it needs to be pretty generic in that you don't need to get super, super specific about why you signed up, particularly if the reason you signed up is kind of emotional or sad. And I'll give you a perfect example. So I had a girl on my team that was like, okay, I'm in, I got this, I want to start recruiting. Great. So I gave her the list of things that she had to do, and she started doing this speech. And after like 3 parties, she came back and she was like, I am clearly doing something wrong because the last 3 parties that I've done have started with tears. I'm like, holy crap, what are you saying to them, right? I said, I need you to record this. Not at a party, don't do it again at a party, like you're killing your party. I need you to just stand in front of a mirror and record yourself doing whatever it is you're doing at a party. And I immediately was able to pick out what she was doing wrong. So she had signed up because she had a child with cancer, and her, right there, that was it, what up, right? The medical bills were piling up, and so she needed to have extra cash. The minute you say child with cancer, somebody's like, right? Like, and so this fun, excited party atmosphere evaporates because she was being too honest. It was a little too much. So I'm like, listen, we're going to be true to your story, but we're not going to give them so much detail that it literally kills your party. So all I want you to say is that you had a family situation that had created $250,000 of medical debt in less than a year. That's it. It's relatable, it's scary because of those numbers, but it's inspiring, right? Where you're like, okay, I'm taking control of it. I mean, I have chills thinking about it right now. So the minute she changed that up, it all turned around and it worked. So you gotta be careful when you're crafting your I story so you're not like Debbie Downer, right? Because, and this is something that it's probably good to work with someone else on, especially someone that is a recruiter. Write this all out, practice it, maybe record it, and tweak it. Once you tweak it, bullet points the highlights of this thing so you don't forget what it is you want to say, okay? And I need you to literally practice it again and again and again and again. I did it so often that my 5-year-old, when I would forget something, was like, you forgot to say, from the backseat. And I would do it while we were driving, right? Yeah, Susan, she's always been a smart ass. Okay, all right, now 2, after you do your 2-minute I story, then you're gonna talk about what you love about your business. And it could change party to party, like whatever you're excited about right now, that's okay. Like let your natural enthusiasm come through. I remember when I was new, initially it was, I'm just so excited to get away from my children, right? Like I get to be Heather and not Mommy and not Mrs. Pillow. For 4 hours with you girls, I'm Heather. I get to rediscover who Heather is, which is awesome. Then I bought a vacuum. I bought a Dyson, a $500 vacuum. And for someone who had literally no money to spend $500 on something that cleans was like huge. So then I was like, I love the fact that it allows me to get the things that I need, like a vacuum. And of course, I'm sure there were some people in the crowd who was like, she is really excited about a vacuum. But there were other moms in the crowd who were like, you got a Dyson? Right? So it relates to people. Ultimately, each piece of this is going to relate to someone else so that you're as relatable as possible to as many people in your crowd. So what do you love about your business? What does your family love about your business? If you don't know, ask them. Why do you love Mommy's business? Husband, why do you love that I do this? It could be the research and development. My husband's favorite part is the product testing, right? Like, it's fine. You can wink, you don't have to be creepy about it, but and seriously, like, again, relatability is what we're shooting for here. What the average consultant makes, God bless you, This is really important that you stick with averages, because if you are a low producer or you are a high producer, you're going to scare most girls. If you're the girl who literally just wants to do one party a month because you want some folding cash, you're setting the bar so low that the girls who want to make $1,000 are like, I guess this isn't the business for me because it's not going to happen, right? But for those of us that make our full-time income from this, because we do 8 parties a month, you're going to scare the hell out of the girl that just wants to do this 2 or 3 times, right? So you talk about the average consultant. The average consultant does 1 to 2 parties a week. They have total control over their schedule, and when they do a party, generally they're going home with $200 to $400 in cash in their pocket that night. That is averages. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Yes, of course there are people who make $1,000 in a night. Yes, or far more. That's not the average, and it's definitely not the bar you want to set for a brand new consultant. So you're starting with what the average consultant does. What have you done with your income? If you have not done anything because you haven't made a single dollar yet because your brand's spanking new, use a sister, use your sponsor, use somebody else's story, and share whatever it is that appeals to you about what they have done. And then finally, what are you working towards in your business? I'm so excited because they offer us such great incentives, and right now I'm working towards a superstar bonus. $12,000 bonus right before Christmas, right? Like, whatever it is that you're excited about, whether it's your jewelry for your fast track, or you're paying off your student loan debt, or whatever it is that you're excited to do, share that with them, because it humanizes you. All right, so the next thing, that's the beginning of your party. The next thing you're gonna do at every single party is you're gonna play a sponsoring game, and there are definitely some choices. They are all really super simple. We'll just go through them very quickly, and you can also find far more detail on this in the COO under, I think it's called Building a Team. Building a Team under training, okay? So, ask me anything. I personally call this the lightning round, and I do this because I want them to know it's going to be fast. I had a girl in the market yesterday be like, I played Ask Me Anything last week and it went 45 minutes. I'm like, you did it wrong, right? Like, she's enthusiastic and you don't want to scare her, but I'm like, no, girl, you just killed your sales. So you need to limit how long this lasts, and the easiest way to do that is limit the number of questions they can ask. So I call it the lightning round. I'm like, we're gonna have a very quick PR commercial break. We're gonna play a little game called the lightning round. You have 10 questions. I hold up 10 tickets that I get from, Office Supply or whatever. 10 opportunities to be entered to win a free prize from my fun little bag. I have a little gift bag here. You can ask me anything you want to know about my business. Now, I'm not talking about my business. I'm talking about pure romance, okay? Anything you want to know. We're not talking about products right now. It's just about my business and pure romance. Who has the first question? Now, sometimes there will be a quick pause. A 2-second pause, no big deal. A 4-second pause, then you're going to actually provide someone with a question, especially your hostess. Start with your hostess. You don't want to know what I tell my children I do? And I hand her a ticket. Everybody wants to know what you tell your pastor, your teachers. Like, they want to know what it is that you say, because they're figuring out how on earth they're going to talk about their new business because they think you're the sex toy lady, right? So start with a question with the hostess. Tell them an easy one. You don't want to know how much money I make, that kind of stuff. Generally, they're then going to jump in. They're going to ask all kinds of questions. It's more often they're going to have more questions than you have tickets. Stop them, because you've got to respect the fact that some people are on a time crunch. So you're like, you guys have so many great questions, and I know you probably have more. Do me a favor, go ahead and write them down on your connection card, and I will make sure that we get all of those answered, okay? Put the tickets aside, and you go right into your toy demo. It literally is less than 3 to 4 minutes. And I want you to look at it not as a game so much as a demo. It is your recruiting demo. You don't cut out a demo for lubricant. You don't cut out a demo for toy cleaner, right? This is a staple in your business. It is your recruiting demo. So add it in there, do it every single time. 8 questions. This is actually a game that Karen Phelps taught us way back when. Super easy, especially for new girls who are nervous about, what if they ask me something I don't have the answer to? So it's actually a 2-part game. The first one is 8 questions, and the second part is 4 questions. The 8 questions they ask you, the 4 questions you ask them. It's very interactive. So you can go on to COO, and it's all there. You just print them out. I say laminate them if you can, just so that it's easy, but otherwise you're gonna print them multiple times because they get wrinkled and ugly, okay? And when you get at the beginning of your party, when you're handing out catalogs and order forms and all that other stuff, you're gonna hand out the 8 questions. 1 for you, 1 for you, 1 for you, 1 for you. If you only have 5 or 6 people, it's okay, give one person 2 questions, not a big deal, right? So right before your toys, you're gonna do the same thing. Girls, we're gonna have a pure romance commercial break.